This is a video about a person who's considered missing. He's probably still alive. It's been 10 years since he disappeared. Born in 1979, he grew up in Amarillo, Texas, and graduated from his high school locally there, and then went to the University of Utah. 2003, he worked as an intern at the governor's office in Salt Lake City. 2007, he moved to Salt Lake City and worked for the online division of the Salt Lake Tribune. Worked for the MatchBin company in Salt Lake City in 2008. 2009, March, he moved to St. George, Utah to work for the same company. A month later, he got fired. So he ended up working a window washing business job probably at the Travis Window and Blind Cleaning Company. He had trouble finding a better job and was having trouble paying rent. Christmas time comes around. He's distributing flyers for his boss and putting up Christmas decorations on the side to make some money. He had refused an offer from his father for rent money. He didn't want to take the rent money from his dad, even though he was behind. And he also said, "I'll be home for Christmas." And at some point during this, he had gotten $100 from his boss, cash, probably for the flyering. On the 9th of the month, he went to Ruby Valley, Nevada, to visit a girl, the family of a girl he had dated for a while. Then he went to Wendover, Nevada, Springville, Utah, Nephi, Utah, and then went back home to St. George. That's 900 miles in a white 2003 Chevrolet Cavalier. The next day, he texted and phoned up his parents and said, "I'll be home for Christmas in Bountiful," which is right near Salt Lake City, on the 23rd. That's what it shows as the map. It could have been another place, obviously. The 12th, he gassed up his car in Mesquite, bought Kmart Christmas presents in St. George, and that was the last time his bank account access happened. So he would have pulled money that day. So he had money on the 12th, and probably from his boss. 10 p.m. he came home on that same day, 10 p.m. at night, and 10:30 he left, leaving his passport, laptop, and cell phone charger, he may have had more than one, in the house as he drove off with $100 cash from his boss. He had gassed up earlier in the day and gone back from Mesquite to home. On the 13th, the next day, in the early morning, probably around 6 a.m. or something, who knows, he spoke to two friends on his cell phone and said he was in Las Vegas. One of them, named Greg, had been in the same area for separate reasons, but they hadn't bothered to ask each other why during the course of the conversation. Only noted that he had been in a similar area that they mentioned, or he mentioned, sometime in the early morning. And it was probably probably wasn't even 6 a.m. for that last call. He probably was having the call at around 11. At 11:54 a.m., a Sun City Anthem retirement community camera shows him park his vehicle in the cul-de-sac at 2600 Savannah Springs Avenue, Henderson, Nevada. A few minutes later, 25 seconds after the hour almost exactly, he walked alone north down the left side of Savannah Springs Avenue sidewalk, turned left, crossing onto the northern edge of the Evening Lights Street, walking west carrying a folder, and disappeared at 2265 Evening Lights Street, Henderson, Nevada, wearing a hoodie, blue jeans, or Docker pants, and he had white dress shirt and white sneakers on. Now I'm going to cover that really quickly here. This is the trip he took. Started over here in St. George, went up to Ruby Valley to visit relatives of somebody he knew, went over to West Wendover, and then went past Salt Lake City to Springville, then Nephi, then back to St. George. He could have stopped by and visited his family. He didn't do that. Then later on, he went from Mesquite, fueled up, came up here, left there at 10 o'clock at night, and ended up down here in the early morning and parked at 2600 Savannah Springs Avenue just before noon. The usual way this is told is no one ever saw him again. That's not actually necessarily real. That's the last time it's undeniable he was seen and had a place and time and date stamped to himself. By 5 p.m., his cell phone signal was 9 miles on a foot walk, 1,000 feet downhill, 9 miles away at American Pacific Drive and North Arroyo Grand Boulevard. 7 p.m., the cell phone was 2 miles further north near Sunset Drive and Stephanie Street at the Whitney Ranch and Henderson subdivision, just south of the Galleria at Sunset at an intersection. Now, this is the funny part about all this. 6 a.m., the cell phone was 2 miles further north, checking voicemail on the 14th. Now remember, that was the next day. Checking voicemail could have been stolen on U.S. Route 95 and Russell Street, a.k.a. 5742 East Russell Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada. You type in Route 95, you're not going to get anywhere. It'll show you a map of it and then refuse to show you the map with it. The abandoned car was found on the same day. It had a shaving kit, coats, pillows, blankets, presents, half a tank of gas, but it was missing that cell phone and the wallet and the driver's license. 2 days after that, the cell phone signal stopped existing at the location it was left at. That was the last place it was left at. He was seen, according to witnesses, east of the Galleria at Sunset by 3 people at the Best Buy store at 611 March Street, Henderson, Nevada. And a homeless and disoriented person matching his description was seen sometime, nobody will notice, 7 miles northwest of this at an IHOP. And those are the last 2 possible sightings. Now, the location here, the cell phone signal in this, that's actually kind of significant, so we're going to get to that next. Okay? All right. Just want to review here. This is the last thing that was seen of him. Some CCTV footage. And his car was probably parked here to keep it away from everybody's driveway. He walked right along this sidewalk section here, crossed this piece here, went right across here, and on this side. So he was trying to get to something on that side of the road and visit somebody. And this is the entire route that cell phone took from that point forward. It was up here at this location, then it was this location, then it ended up here. He was sighted here, and the 3 people who talked to him, describing him to his family members, they said that sounds totally like him. So that probably is real. That was long after, that was a while later. And then the homeless person was spotted up here. Now let's get some context on this. This is that first jaunt up to American Pacific Drive in North Arroyo. That's a long walk, if it was even him with his cell phone. Now I'm not overemphasizing the location he was at. He was parked literally right there. It's a cul-de-sac. Now the thing about this is, he went up this street like he was heading maybe to cross at a shallower angle, up to go to this corner or something. He could have easily driven around and parked if he knew where to park. What it looks like he did is he parked here because he was able to figure out at one point or another that would be a good place to park his car so it wouldn't be bothered. There's no house on this surface here. And more importantly, and I'm going to point this out, this entire retirement community is like Westworld for old people because it's nothing but golf courses everywhere. It's a giant, it's like a conspiracy theory on creating golf courses. He went from here to here, and the only thing up that way would be a person's house or to get through to get on the golf course. I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding about the golf course factor about this. And if he was just walking instead of hitching a ride, he might have parked there so he could hitch a ride temporarily for some reason. But the walking pathway here takes him past, effectively, tons and tons of pathways that he could use to get where he needed to go that would involve greenway-ish kind of things. The next part of our trip here is from that location there. It goes up here to this intersection here. Let's look at that for a minute. This is a very large mall. This is the Best Buy. You'll see in a minute why I brought that up. But that's where his phone sat. It was checking his voicemail. Right there where you would be very likely to get on to hitchhike or maybe be dropped off by, or not. And I'm going to bring up that the locations he was seen at are very important. But there's the Best Buy. There's one of the last places the phone was able to be picked up at. And he could have taken a ride down here. There's a thing of people doing day work by hanging out at Best Buys or any other place that's got hardware store stuff. Just saying. As you can see from the pixels here, this is the pathway it took. It went up here and came back. And then the last place seen is a very long distance away over here. And he's reported as being just a random homeless person who's kind of disoriented or disheveled. My opinion is not relevant. The reason I'm doing this is rather simple. The guy had just found out that he wasn't going to be able to pay rent. He'd refused money from his parents. Maybe he was going to move back in with them. Then why leave everything there? What happened to him? What was he doing in the area and why? They obviously checked his cell phone records and didn't find anything referencing the area. We don't know what happened to him. So, my assumption, Stephen Thell Koecher, if you're watching, I'm assuming he's alive. If you actually stumble on this video, you've been gone for almost 10 years. Don't let it be another 10 years or even one more day. Go home if you can. You have a couple of, some of your family's still there. If you actually can hear me. I'm sure he probably is trying to get home. I hope he's alive. I'm actually sure he's alive for some stupid reason. This reminds me a lot of what happened that same year to me. Like, a lot. I wish you luck, sir. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. This video has been made so that people have a reference point to what little I could get. Maps and lineups will be in the links in the description, and you'll have this information if you're attempting to figure out what happened. My opinion is they poo-pooed those 3 witnesses because they didn't think it was credible, and we will never know where he went. He has to come out of nowhere to do this. This sounds a lot like a person trying to disappear to run away from his problems, but I don't see this guy as deciding to make a cover story of having a bunch of Christmas presents in a vehicle that he wanted his, nieces and nephews to have, and not make sure they got them. He could have just sent them. Or he could have just gone home for the Christmas that he said he was going to. I don't think he would have done that as a way to hide. But I don't know what happened. Good day.